is Rob. I go by Rimbolt88A on Twitch. And uh, today will be a short stream as I'm leaving at 1:45. But I thought I would talk about a new report from the Financial Accountability Office that came out today. And I'm just seeing if there was any one chatting. There's no one watching the stream yet, but so the Financial Accountability Office has released a series of reports on climate because one MPP requested how much climate is costing Ontario and municipalities. So I found this press release. Climate change hazards to add $14 billion to Ontario transportation infrastructure costs by 2030 and significantly more by 2100. And to put this into perspective, the gas plant scandal was $1 billion. And some of the entire ministries have this type of budget. So it's a huge amount. And from this news release, there's 444 municipalities own 82% of the $330 billion 2020 dollars. So that's 82% is owned by municipalities and 18% is owned by the province. So there's a huge incentive to take climate action at the provincial level and especially at the municipal level. And as it is right now, municipalities are underfunded currently, so the province needs to step in. It's disappointing if they don't step in with support for municipalities because municipalities can't have a deficit at all. Maintenance will cost $11 billion with a stable climate. And I can probably look at for articles about the maintenance cost, the underfunding of municipalities in Ontario. I know that those reports out there. And it's outrageous that the Ontario's climate plan was called a glossy brochure because these costs impact municipalities directly and will impact them and have impacted them. Back in May, I'm broadcasting from Northern Peterborough, Ontario, Canada. There was a storm that knocked out power for weeks at a time. And power lines were ripped in half. there was no, limited communications, and it was a problem for a lot of people. Um, so um, yeah, and I do think that we it doesn't look like we will achieve the low emission scenario. It look because we're not acting quickly enough on climate action, um, and I'm sure we'll discuss this as well. But at the federal level, provincial level, and we're still talking about having a we're still talking about having a what do you call it? Um, what do you call it? Yeah, paving over wetlands, the Ring of Fire. We're still talking about that, and changing landscapes, building roads will increase emissions as especially bogs and fens get disturbed. They store carbon dioxide. In my past stream, I was talking about how the Ontario government um, there was a legal obligation in Ontario's climate change plan. Um, so yeah, you can watch the previous stream. Um, so 14 billion dollars extra, all accumulated by 2030, on top of what's spent on a stable climate. Um, in the absence of, and this is in the low emission scenario where there's immediate action on climate change and um, all emissions fall by 2030. Um, a lot of the climate goals are 2050. Um, so it's a bit um, it's more probable that the medium scenario would be in play. So in the absence of adaptation, there could be $2.2 billion per year and 171 billion by 2100. High emissions 322, um, and uh, adopt adaptation can add between 110 to 229 billion, or 1.4 to 2.9 billion per year. And then I'll go down on this. Um, oh, yeah, an average increase of 1.4 to 2.9 billion dollars a year. And this option is less expensive than municipal governments not adopting. Um, yeah, and then um, Yeah, those charts in the report. So I'll go to the report. Oh, I guess it's just loading. Okay. Um. Oh, where did my Twitch? Yeah, there it is. Yeah, so transportation, costing climate change impacts to public infrastructure. Those other reports that the Financial Accountability Office has done, which you might be interested in. So this started in June 2019. Um, the Financial Accountability Office was asked to analyze the cost of climate impacts. Um, and then just in a stable climate, it costs 12.9 billion per year and would be 1 trillion by 2100. And 2100 might be on some of your lifetime, potentially. 2040 is likely in the majority of you listening. Hopefully, all of you. 2040 is 8 years away. Absence of adaptation, it would be 1.5 billion per year this decade above a stable climate. Climate cost would be, I think that's 14.3 billion. This is a photo of previous reports, upcoming reports. So here's a chart um, that demonstrates so no adaptation would be $171 billion. Reactive would be 135, and proactive would be 110. And we can measure where we all at to determine the amount of money that we should spend um, on adaptation. Oh, hi, Jackie. Thank you for listening. Um, I don't know if you're still there, um, but it is appreciated. Um, um, yeah. So yeah. So this chart is showing that we need to spend money on climate adaptation, and it's cheaper to spend money on adaptation. And then those it goes over like roads, bridges. Um, oh, that's just the amount of most of the money is roads. And then Peterborough has its own climate report. So I can look at that if there's time. I don't know if there will be time today. This is a long report to cover in an hour. Um, um, yeah, so yeah, historic weather events are changing. So that's an issue. Um, oh, I'm getting lunch. Okay, yeah. Well, yeah, I appreciate that you're tuning in and enjoy your lunch. Um, yeah, so in this report, yeah, I saw that roads were impacted by extreme rainfall events. I'm just going to find the page. Um, Still here. Oh, yes, and it shows like um, what they looked at. Uh, oh, here it is. Okay, roads. Extreme rainfall event will be impacted by extreme weather events. This makes sense because bridges are washed out in extreme rainfall. You see like photos from um, extreme weather events um, all the time of bridges gone. And we know that like climate change is making storms more severe and more frequent. Um, Overwhelming drainage features. Um, yeah, that makes sense. Drainage is only designed for like a specific range of weather events, and climate change is happening um, more more often and quicker than what historic models predicted. Um, we're basing things off Hurricane Hazel, um, and there was a Timmins storm, um, and 100, like a 1 in 100 year storm. So 1% chance of happening in 100 years is happening more often than what um, models would suggest. So we might need to change some of the um, change some things in terms of modeling. Increased cracking. People complain about that when they drive over the roads. Like like why aren't they spending more money on roads? Is what I hear a lot. Um, so if you don't, so if you spend more money on addressing climate change, you end up spending less money on roads. Extreme heat. Apparently, roads can soften and above 30 degrees Celsius and increase water infiltration as well as potholes. Um, I didn't see the link between potholes and extreme heat, but now um, yeah, it's in this analysis, and so municipal politicians should be listening. Um, what what do you think of Alex um, Bulk um, wanting to remove railway ties in Charlotte and repaving it? Um, yeah, like I would like the railway ties to be repurposed. Um, yeah, I'm not really. Yeah, I know one of them was recently done. I don't know if it was Charlotte Street or not. Um, but I know one of it was done. But yeah, if you can avoid if if there's like climate mitigation in in, in Charlotte Street, um, I know Charlotte Street is one of the major roads in downtown. Um, so that it might need some work. Um, and then like there should be bike bike infrastructure as well. Yeah, I would definitely need more information um, with Alex's proposal. But yeah, I do. But there definitely is a link between if there's no climate adaptation, then repaving it doesn't make sense. Um, it's like driving in a washboard can't be good. Uh, washboard. Oh, are you saying like it's bumpy? Yeah. Yeah. I don't. Yeah, I don't really like the bit buried rail lines that have been completely paved over for. Um, I think they had the railway back in the 20s, but they canceled it. Oh yeah, yes. I believe the yes. Yeah, that's yeah. They should have been taken out when before paving it. I see what you mean. Um, yeah, I believe they just paved on top of the railways, and that's why those huge bumps. Yeah, it's unfortunate. Like back in the 20s, politicians didn't have like the long term vision and canceled all the good infrastructure that we could have had. But yeah, I guess I wasn't around back then. Um, um, yeah. Oh, oh, and then so back to roads. Um, yeah, they excluded the freeze thaw cycle from reports. Um, but that is also a factor. So these numbers could be even higher. Um, bridges, like roads, impacted by extreme um, flooding, road embankments, um, substrates. Um, Freeze-thaw would contribute to weathering of bridges, decks, and barriers, causing concrete cracking. There will be a decline in the number of annual freeze-thaw cycles, so that will increase the surface life of some bridges. Um, and there's not really a significant impact on most of the bridge components. Um, and structural covalts, erosion will be a problem. Chemical protection will also be vulnerable to washing and small damages. Scowl damages, I'm not sure what that word means. Um, so yeah, that is an issue. And with erosion, those increased sedimentation runoff. Uh, Huge issue in Jackson Creek with development. It'll impact fish, uh, wildlife populations, especially aquatic ecosystems. It'll cause the streams to fill in, potentially increase nutrients, which will increase algae blooms. Um, so there's lots of issues with that, but that wasn't really look. This report was more looking into the cost impacts, not necessarily the um, environmental impacts. Um, Extreme heat, transit engineering. This report is saying temperatures above 30 degrees can cause stress on rail tracks um, and alignment components, friction between rail ties and tracks. Um, just a few hours of above average heat are enough to cause problems with buckling, potentially probably increasing rapidly once temperatures exceed around 35 degrees. I think Peterborough has experienced 35 degrees. Um, with a The city of Peterborough is expected to have a rail transportation. Um, I think by 2030, um, but that's been promised for decades. So fingers crossed that happens. So and that's a federal, provincial, municipal joint project. Um, so um, that might be a huge issue um, going forward. Currently, there is no passenger rail line, but they're all rail. There is rail in Peterborough that goes through the city. Um, Freight, um, and I have been stopped by trains, uh, long trains. I think some of the freight has been discontinued. I think the train around. I'm not sure if the train around Millennium Park is still operational. I have yet to see a train now, but I know like around. Um, I think I want to say George. I want to say George Street and Townsend. Um, before you get to the downtown. Um, let's see. Climate change. Oh, and then this is examples. Potholes, what people complain about, especially to municipal politicians. Um, um, oh, I'm just reading the. And then they give like close ups. Yeah, and we don't want like trains to derail because of buckling. Um, some of the trains that do go that we do know about potentially contain hazardous material, and hopefully that's considered. Um, and we need to pay more attention since the Lake Loch Magantic disaster. Um, climate change. Oh, and then this heading is most climate change hazards to public transportation infrastructure will increase. Um, oh, yes. A low emission scenario assumes a major and immediate turnaround in global climate policies. Emissions are projected to peak in early 2020 and decline to zero by the 2080s. Um, so I I have seen emissions go up since the 2020s, since 2020. Um, but the recent climate report specific to Peterborough is from 2020, and it showed a decline, but they're saying that it is projected to increase. Um, and saying by the end of the century that emissions are negative. And mean temperatures are expected to increase by 1.6 degrees Celsius compared to the industrial average. Um, Medium emissions scenario will global emissions peak by the 2040s. I think this is um, what might happen. Um, and this might be to um, scientists. I've heard scientists say that this is too late. Um, 2030 should be the goal of any peak. And after 2030, it'll be um, it'll be locked in. The climate impacts. Um, in this scenario, global mean temperature is projected to increase by 2.3 degrees Celsius relative to the 1850 to 1900 baseline. Um, and then hopefully we don't get to the high emission scenario um, when global mean temperatures are projected to increase by 4.2 degrees Celsius. well, so it's 1850 to 1900. Um, Emissions from 2005 to 2020 most closely match the high emission scenario. Emission. Oh, so that's not that good. That's not good at all. Um, because it's even more costly. Um, so yeah, how is chat doing? I don't see anyone else in chat, but I do have one viewer, so that's good. Um, yeah, so annual number of hot days will increase, projected to increase. I saw this specific to. There's a report specific to Peterborough, Northern Ontario. Um, that does talk about increased hot days, increased rainfall days. Um, um, Projected. So it's just saying there were an average of 4 hot days every year between 1976 to 2005. And oh, climate periods are 30 years. When you're looking at climate, you have to look at 30-year periods of time. Otherwise, you don't get accurate numbers. And then you get more into like weather. Um, Ontario's annual number of hot days is projected to increase by 5 days, 2 to 10 days in the low emission scenario, and by 34 days in the high emission scenario by, by the 2071 to 2100 period. Um, so yeah, that's not good. And then those risks of heat stroke, like the city of Peterborough has a high number of senior people, um, and people living in poverty will also feel the increased heat. Um, yeah, and then like the heat island effect, I don't think the heat island effect was mentioned in this. So adoption should include that as well. Extreme rainfall. Um, so 118 to 158 millimeters are projected, and it was 103 millimeters. Um, the average 1 in 124-hour rainfall. So perhaps like a good news is that annual freeze stars will decline. Eating lunch and Instagram message uh, popped up regarding the election. Yeah, yeah. I guess, yeah. With the election coming up, it's important to vote with the climate in mind, climate adaptation in mind, um, because climate adaptation will save people's lives, especially related to anything that will help cool. Um, and it will help save the city money, which can be used for social uh, improvements, um, potentially basic living, guaranteed income, and anything that the city wants to spend money or ideally should be spending money towards. Rent supplements might be one. Um, yeah, so yeah, I do. I think I will have to leave soon because I'm heading back to my work. Um, but I wanted to talk about this climate report uh, from the Financial Accountability Office because it just came out, um, and I guess the main takeaway is uh, spending money on adaptation um, is, is cost effective, and we should, um, when we're talking to candidates and for international viewers that might be listening, Ontario has municipal elections coming up in October. Um, so that's why I'm talking. That's why I'm mentioning candidates. I know, like, I just read on Twitter that there was like one of the candidates denies climate change. Um, but anyways, I'm going to wrap up now, and I hope to stream again soon. Um, and thank you for listening.